Every night my wife slipped into our son's room. One evening I set up a camera and discovered something I never would have believed. Can you imagine seeing something so utterly horrifying on a hidden camera in your own son's room that it makes you question everything you thought you knew about the person you married? I'm Darius, and that's exactly what happened to me. What I uncovered under my own roof, while I was out on the road trying to provide for my family, completely changed my life. It might just change yours too, especially if you're a parent who works away from their kids. Sometimes we think we know the people closest to us, but there are hidden things, dark truths, that only come to light when we least expect them. For years, I was a long-haul truck driver. My name's Darius Thurman, and I live in a quiet little town outside Augusta, Georgia. I drove coast to coast, hauling freight across this whole country. My heart, though, it was always back home with my incredible wife, Nia, and our son, Ethan. Ethan, he used to be pure energy, pure joy. The kind of kid who'd sprint out to hug me the moment I pulled into the driveway, chattering nonstop about school, laughing loud at cartoons. That's how I remembered him, anyway. It was after an almost 3-week-long trip that I noticed it. Something was different. When I got home, Ethan barely came out of his room. And when I went in to see him, his hug was distant. There was a look in his eyes I'd never seen before, a haunting sadness. I chalked it up to tiredness, maybe just a growth spurt. "Everything okay, son?" I asked, ruffling his hair like always. "Yeah, Dad," he mumbled, not meeting my gaze. Then Nia appeared in the doorway, a calm smile on her face. "He's been a bit quiet these past few days. Just a phase, I guess. He's growing up." She brushed it off. "Come on, dinner's ready." But a cold dread settled in my stomach. Her smile, it felt wrong. That night at dinner, I watched him. He ate slowly, head bowed. He'd glance at Nia, a quick, fearful dart of his eyes, as if afraid to make a wrong move. And the dark circles under his eyes, they were deep, like he hadn't truly slept in ages. "How's school, buddy?" I tried again. "Fine," he whispered. "What about Kevin? Is your pal still coming over?" That's when I saw it, Nia staring intensely at Ethan. He swallowed hard before answering. Later, tucking him into bed, I sat on the edge. "Ethan," I whispered, "is everything really okay?" He grabbed my hand, his small fingers trembling. "Dad, don't tell Mom I talked to you." My heart hammered against my ribs. "Talked about what, son?" Before he could answer, Nia was there again in the doorway. "Time for bed, Ethan. School's early." The way he flinched, physically recoiling when he saw her, it wasn't normal. I kissed his forehead, but my mind was spinning. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. I couldn't sleep that night. I just knew it. I decided to delay my next trip, to watch, to observe. The next few days were a blur of growing concern. Ethan wasn't my chatty boy. His teacher said he was withdrawn. At home, he hid in his room. Every time I asked, he'd say yes, that everything was fine, but his eyes screamed a different story. One afternoon, when Nia was out, I sat with him. "Buddy, you can tell me anything. Dad will always protect you." He wrung his hands, then, barely a whisper. "I don't like it when you travel, Dad." "Why, son? Doesn't Mom take good care of you?" He just shook his head, his face crumpling. "No." He wouldn't elaborate. I pushed gently. "Ethan, did something happen when Dad was away?" That's when he started to cry soft, tiny sobs. I pulled him into my arms, feeling his small body tremble. "Dad," he choked out between gasps. "Please, please don't tell Mom." My heart shattered. What kind of fear was this? Why was my son terrified of his own mother? "Ethan, did Mom do something to you? Can you tell me?" Just then, we heard the key turn in the front door. He immediately pulled away, wiped his tears, and his demeanor shifted instantly. It was like he'd put on a mask. "I'm home," Nia announced, walking in with groceries. Seeing us, she smiled. But I sensed something unsettling about that smile. It was too wide, too bright. "What are you two up to?" "Just talking," I managed, trying to sound natural. "Right, son?" He just nodded, his eyes still red, and asked to go to the bathroom. Dinner was torture. I watched their interactions. His avoidance. His careful, measured words. The invisible weight on his small shoulders. Nia, meanwhile, was perfectly normal. Asking about school, the weather, like nothing was amiss. Later, in bed, I tried again. "Don't you think Ethan's different? Quieter? More withdrawn?" Nia just shrugged, applying lotion to her face. "It's a phase, Darius. Kids go through it. One day they're joyful, the next they're introverted. It's normal. But the dark circles, Nia. He looks like he hasn't slept." Oh, he's been having some nightmares, she said, finally looking at me. Kids do that. And why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to worry you on the road. You have enough on your mind. The explanation seemed reasonable, but the knot in my stomach tightened. That night, I woke up, mind racing. Nia wasn't in bed. I got up silently. The house was dark, just the dim hall light. The door to Ethan's room was slightly ajar. Nia was inside. I froze, holding my breath, straining to hear. After what felt like an eternity, about 30 minutes, she quietly slipped out, closing the door behind her. What were you doing in his room at this hour? I demanded, startling her. Darius, you scared me, she gasped, clutching her chest. I just want to check on him, because of the nightmares. 30 minutes to check if he's sleeping? He woke up. He was agitated. I stayed there, calming him down. Why? What kind of question is that? I said, trying to mask my growing suspicion. Sorry, I was just worried. We went back to bed, but sleep wouldn't come. The next morning, after Nia took Ethan to school, I went straight to his room. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I needed answers. Under his bed, I found his old teddy bear. The one I gave him years ago, the one he cherished. Now it was torn, stuffing coming out. My son always took such good care of his toys. When I picked it up, I saw dark stains on the fabric. Dried tears. My heart ached. That night, I stayed awake on purpose. Around 11, Nia slipped out again, towards Ethan's room. This time, I waited, then crept silently to his door. Muffled crying. My son, sobbing so quietly, as if he was terrified to make a sound. Discipline, I heard Nia say, low and firm. It's for your own good. Discipline. What kind of discipline made my son cry like that in the dead of night? It was in that moment, a chilling certainty settling in my bones, that I made a decision that would change our lives forever. The next morning, I told Nia I had company business, leaving early. My head was buzzing. Was I overreacting? Was it just a phase? But that muffled crying, the fear in Ethan's eyes. I couldn't shake it. I drove downtown, walked into an electronics store. I need a small, discreet camera. I told the clerk, my throat tight. Easy to install, and I need to access it from my phone. Home security, sir? He asked. Yes, I choked out. For my son's security. I left with a micro camera. I never thought I'd be installing a hidden camera in my own home to spy on my own wife. But Ethan's well-being was all that mattered. Back home, Nia was in the kitchen, Ethan at school. Perfect timing. Did you get what you needed? She asked, stirring a pot. Yeah, everything's sorted. I lied, slipping the camera bag into my jacket. Going to take a shower. I went to Ethan's room, scouting locations. It needed to capture the whole room, but be invisible. Finally, I tucked it on his bookshelf between some toys. Small, discreet. With trembling hands, I set it up, tested the app on my phone. It worked. Relief washed over me, mixed with a profound guilt. Guilt for invading my home's privacy. But something deep inside told me this was the right thing to do. Dinner that night felt surreal. My stomach churned. Ethan was quiet, giving Nia those quick, fearful glances. Nia, meanwhile, talked about neighbors' shopping weekend plans. I have to head out again the day after tomorrow, I said, watching them both. Long trip down to Texas. Ethan's shoulders slumped. Nia's eyes flickered, almost imperceptibly. How long this time? She asked, with a calmness that now seemed utterly chilling. At least 2 weeks, maybe more. Ethan dropped his head further. Nia smiled faintly. We'll miss you, won't we, Ethan? He just nodded. Later, putting him to bed, he grabbed my hand so tight. Dad, do you really have to travel? The desperation in his voice broke me. Yes, son. I need to work. But it'll go fast, and I'll be back soon, okay? He didn't answer. He just hugged me fiercely, as if he never wanted to let go. In that moment, I knew. Installing that camera was the only choice. The next day, I spent every possible second with him. Ice cream after school. Playing catch. His favorite cartoons. I needed him to feel me, to know I was there. That night, before he fell asleep, I tried one more time. Ethan, you know you can tell me anything, right? Even if someone tells you not to. He looked quickly at the door, checking. I know, Dad, he whispered. Is something happening that makes you sad or scared? His eyes welled up. I can't, Dad. Why not, son? Why? He started to speak, but his voice failed. Footsteps in the hall. Nia. Bedtime for you too, Darius. You need your rest for your trip tomorrow. I gave Ethan one last hug, whispering, I love you, son. I will always protect you. When I left the room, Nia followed me to our bed. I pretended to fall asleep. About an hour later, I heard it. The soft rustle. She was getting up, slipping out of the room. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it would burst. I grabbed my phone, opened the camera app. On the screen, I saw Nia enter Ethan's room. She closed the door gently. Ethan was lying there, awake, as if expecting her. He shrunk under the covers, pulling the blanket to his chin. "Mom, please," he whispered. "I was good today. You know that doesn't matter, right?" Nia's voice. Cold. Distant. A voice I'd never heard from her before. "This is for your education." Then I saw it. She pulled a roll of masking tape from her robe pocket. My entire body went numb. On that small phone screen, I watched my wife, my son's mother, move towards his bed. Ethan shrank further, his little eyes wide with pure terror. "Please, Mom," he pleaded softly. "I promise I'll be better." "Shoo," she hushed, a finger to her lips. "The neighbors can't hear, remember? And neither can Dad." With a quick, brutal motion, she tore off a piece of tape and, without hesitation, plastered it over my son's mouth. My Ethan, my 8-year-old boy, silenced in such a cruel way. My hands shook violently. I almost dropped the phone. "That's better," Nia said low. "Now we won't bother anyone with crying, right?" Then she pulled a hard-soled slipper from her other robe pocket. Ethan, mouth taped, tried to plead with his eyes. Silent tears streamed down his little face. "This is for your own good," she continued, her voice icy. "One day, you'll thank me for teaching you discipline." What happened next? It was one of the hardest things I've ever witnessed. She started hitting him with the slipper. Not light taps. Not disciplinary spanks. These were hard, repeated blows. All while she whispered for him to learn his lesson. Ethan couldn't scream. His body convulsed with every hit. I watched his small shoulders shake with mute sobs, tears soaking his pillow. And worst of all, I saw a mixture of pain and resignation in his eyes, as if this was routine. Every fiber of my being screamed to rush out, to burst into his room, to make it stop. But a part of me, a cold, strategic part, knew I needed proof. Concrete evidence. To ensure Ethan would never go through this again. So, with a shattered heart, I continued to record. "This is for talking too much with your father today," I heard Nia say between blows. "You know you can't tell him our business." Finally, after an eternity, she stopped. Ethan was huddled in his bed, his little body trembling. "Remember our deal?" Nia said, leaning over him. "If you tell your father anything, I'll know, and it will be much worse." Then she ripped the tape off his mouth, making him wince in pain. "Now dry your face and go to sleep. And I don't want to hear a sound. Understand?" Ethan nodded, terrified. Nia smoothed the blanket over him, as if that gesture could erase the violence. "Good night, son," she said, then left the room, gently closing the door. In the darkness of my own room, phone still in my hand, the images seared into my memory, I cried. Silently. How had I not seen it? How could I have left my son vulnerable for so long? The trips, the long absences. How long had this been going on? Minutes later, Nia returned to our bed. I feigned sleep, but every cell in my body screamed to confront her. To unleash my fury. To ask how she could do that to our child. But I knew I had to be strategic. Ethan was in danger. I needed to act cautiously, to protect him properly. I spent the whole night awake, checking the camera periodically. I watched Ethan, after his mother left, cry silently, clutching that broken teddy bear. I watched him finally fall asleep, exhausted. And I promised myself, I would do everything to get my son out of that situation. The next morning, I got up before Nia, made breakfast for Ethan. He appeared in the kitchen with those same deep, dark circles, a defeated expression. My heart sank. I tried to act normal, but all I could see were the images from the night before. "Did you sleep well, son?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Yes, Dad," he replied automatically, not meeting my eyes. "Ethan," I called, crouching down. "Look at me." Slowly, he raised his gaze. I saw all the fear, all the pain. "I love you very much," I said, holding his small hands. "And I'm going to do everything to protect you. Do you believe me?" For a fleeting second, a flicker of hope in his eyes. Then, replaced by fear as we heard Nia approaching. "Good morning," she said, entering the kitchen as if nothing had happened. "Already having breakfast? That's great." I watched her pour coffee, spread butter on toast. The loving mother. The same person who, hours earlier, had tortured our son. "What time are you leaving today?" she asked casually. "After lunch," I replied, my voice strained. Want to take advantage of the daylight. Very good, she smiled. Don't worry about a thing. We'll be fine, won't we, Ethan? My son just nodded. After breakfast, while Nia took Ethan to school, I rushed to copy the video. I needed to secure that evidence. I transferred the files to a flash drive, uploaded them to cloud storage. I couldn't risk losing that terrible but crucial proof. When I got back on the road that afternoon, it was far from a normal work trip. Every mile that took me away from home was agony, knowing my son would be alone with his abuser. But now I had a plan. And the camera? It would remain vigilant, recording everything. I would act with the full force of the law. That night, I parked the truck at a rest stop. With a heavy heart, I accessed the camera app. Just as I suspected, the scene was repeating itself. Nia entered the room, closed the door, and the ritual of abuse began again. Cry quietly, I heard her say as she applied the tape. Your father can never know this. That's when I knew. I couldn't wait until I returned. My son would not spend another night in that house. With trembling hands and tears streaming down my face, I called my brother-in-law. Nia's brother, Kevin. Kevin Ellington. He was a stand-up man. Always loved Ethan dearly. And even though he was her brother, I trusted him. Darius, everything okay? You don't usually call this late, he answered, concerned. Kevin, I need your help, I choked out, trying to control my voice. It's an emergency. It's about Ethan. What happened? Is he sick? No. It's worse. I need you to go to my house right now. Get Ethan out of there. Invent any excuse. Say you need him for something. Anything. Just get my son away from Nia. Please. There was a long silence. Darius, you're scaring me. What is going on? Kevin, I don't have time to explain. I'm almost 8 hours from home. Can I trust you? Another pause. Then a serious voice. Yes. You can trust me. I'll go get Ethan right now. Thank you. I felt a sliver of relief. When you have him safe, call me. And please don't tell Nia anything. I hung up, staring at my phone, praying Kevin could get my son out. Meanwhile, I turned the truck around. I didn't care about the delivery, the job, nothing. I was driving straight home. I just wanted to protect my son. An hour and a half later, my phone rang. It was Kevin. Darius, I have Ethan here at my house. I told Nia I needed his help assembling a surprise gift for Chloe, since her birthday is coming up. She was suspicious, but she let him come. I closed my eyes, silently thanking God. How is he? Quiet. Kind of scared. He's asked for you several times. Can I talk to him? Sure. Hold on. Then his small voice. Dad. Hey, buddy, I said, emotion welling up. Are you okay there with Uncle Kevin? I'm okay, he whispered. Dad, are you coming to get me? I am, son. I'm driving home right now. I'll get there as fast as I can. It's okay. In the meantime, you stay there with your uncle. He's going to take care of you. Okay, he said, and I could hear the relief. Dad, thank you. That simple thank you shattered me. My son was thanking me for rescuing him from abuse. As if being treated with dignity was a favor. I love you so much, Ethan. We'll be together soon. Kevin got back on the phone. Darius, are you going to tell me what's going on? Ethan is terrified of going home. What did Nia do? Kevin, I know this is hard to believe, but your sister has been physically abusing Ethan. I have video proof. A long silence. This can't be true. Nia wouldn't do that. I didn't want to believe it either, I replied, my voice breaking. But I saw it. I installed a camera. She waits for me to fall asleep, or when I'm traveling, goes into his room in the middle of the night, tapes his mouth shut so he won't make noise. And she hits him. They're not disciplinary spanks, Kevin. It's pure violence. Oh my God, he whispered, clearly shaken. I have the videos. I'll show you when I get there. For now, I just need to know my son is safe. He's safe here with me and Chloe. You can rest easy. Nia's already called twice, asking when I'm bringing him back. What did you tell her? That I needed his help, and we were going to the burger spot. I said I'd bring him back later. I don't know if she believed me. Thank you, Kevin. Seriously. I should arrive home in the morning. I'll come straight to your house. Won't even stop by mine first. We'll be waiting. And Darius, I don't even know what to say. I never imagined my sister was capable of something like that. Me neither, I replied, a knot in my throat. Me neither. I drove all night without stopping. Every moment I thought of Ethan. The scars. How could a mother do that to her own child? How had I not noticed? I replayed the small signs. The dark circles, his withdrawn behavior, the fear, Nia's excuses. All the times he tried to tell me, then stopped. All the times he begged me not to travel. Around 6 a.m., I stopped for gas. While waiting, I checked the camera again. Ethan's room was empty. Then I heard Nia's voice. "I don't know, Mom," she was saying on the phone, pacing. "Kevin picked up Ethan yesterday and still hasn't brought him back. He won't answer my calls. I'm worried." And Darius called, saying he's coming home early. A pause. I don't know if he suspects anything. He's been acting strange. Of course, I didn't tell him anything. Ethan knows not to talk. He's too scared. My blood boiled. She was talking about torturing our son, as if it were normal. A secret. I have to hang up, Mom. I'm going to call Kevin again. As soon as she left the room, I closed the app. I needed to get home. Now, when I finally arrived in town, it was past 9 a.m. Straight to Kevin's. He answered the door, a serious expression. "He's still asleep," Kevin whispered. "Only managed to drift off around 5 a.m. He seemed afraid to close his eyes." "Can I see him?" Kevin led me to the guest room. Ethan was curled up, a peaceful expression I hadn't seen in so long. I sat on the edge, gently ran my hand through his hair. He stirred but didn't wake. "Darius," Kevin called from the hall. "We need to talk." Now. I left the room, leaving the door ajar. In the living room, Kevin and Chloe waited, their faces etched with worry. "I took his shirt off to give him a bath last night," Chloe said, her eyes tearing up. "He has marks on his back, Darius. Old marks. New marks. Like someone hits him regularly." "I know," I finished, tears stinging my own eyes. "I know. I saw it." "You said you have videos," Kevin reminded me. I pulled out my phone, showed them the recordings. Chloe had to leave the room, sobbing. Kevin watched in silence, his face pale, hands trembling. "Oh my God, Darius," he finally said. This is monstrous. I can't believe my own sister." "Me neither," I replied. "But we need to act fast. Nia is suspicious. She's called you several times. I need to take Ethan somewhere safe and go to the police." Just then a small voice. "Dad!" Ethan stood in the hallway, rubbing his sleepy eyes. When he saw me, he ran, throwing himself into my arms, sobbing. I hugged him tight, promising myself I would never let anyone hurt my son again. "It's all right now, son," I whispered. "Dad's here. No one will hurt you anymore." He clung to me as if his life depended on it. And in a way, it truly did. I sat on the sofa, Ethan in my lap, his face buried in my chest, his small hands clutching my shirt. Kevin and Chloe went to the kitchen, giving us space. I just held him, feeling his trembling body gradually calm. "Buddy," I called softly when he seemed more relaxed. "I need to talk to you about something important." He lifted his face, eyes still red. So much fear. So much pain for a child so small. "You don't have to be scared anymore," I continued, holding his hands. "I know what was happening when I wasn't home. I know what Mom was doing to you at night." His body tensed. Panic flared in his eyes. "Dad, she'll be mad if she knows I said something." "You didn't say anything, son. I found out on my own," I explained, trying to calm him. "I installed a camera in your room. I saw everything." Ethan looked at me, confused. You saw?" "I saw, son. I saw everything she was doing to you. The tape on your mouth, the hitting." He lowered his head as if ashamed. "I'm sorry, Dad." Those two words broke me. My son apologizing for being a victim of abuse. I held his face in my hands. "Ethan, listen closely to what Dad is going to say. You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing. What Mom did to you is wrong. Very wrong. No adult, not even a parent, is allowed to hurt a child like that. Do you understand?" He nodded slowly, but doubt still lingered. Years of manipulation and fear wouldn't be erased with a few words. "How long has this been going on, son?" He bit his lip. "Since you started taking the longer trips. She said it was to teach me to be a good boy while you were away. She said if I told anyone, nobody would believe me. That she would say I was lying for attention." I closed my eyes, a physical pain in my chest. An entire year. And I hadn't known. All those trips, all those nights I left my son alone. And when I was home, did she do this too? He shook his head. "Not as much. Only when you were asleep. She would wait until you were deeply asleep and come into my room. But it was quicker then, because she was afraid you'd wake up." I remembered the times I'd woken to her returning to bed, her excuses. The mornings Ethan looked defeated. How could I have been so blind? "When she hit you, why did she say she was doing it?" Ethan shrugged. Sometimes it was because I talked to you too much. Or because I left my school bag in the wrong place. Or because I didn't eat all my dinner. He paused, swallowing. But most of the time, she said she didn't need a reason. That it was so I could learn to be strong. A tear escaped my eye. I quickly wiped it away. I needed to be strong for him. Ethan, look at me. As of today, this is over. You will never go through this again. Never. I promise you. And Mom, she's going to be really mad. Don't you worry about her. You won't be alone with her ever again. Just then, Kevin returned with hot cocoa and cookies. Chloe came behind him, her eyes still red. Look, Ethan, Kevin said, forcing a smile. Chloe made hot cocoa. Ethan looked at the tray, then at me. Go ahead, son. He climbed off my lap, went to the table. While he ate, Kevin gestured for me to follow him outside. So, Darius, Kevin said, what are you going to do now? I'm going to the precinct, I stated, determined. I'm showing them the videos, filing a report, and asking for a restraining order. Everything necessary to keep my son safe. You know this is going to destroy your family, right? That Nia could go to jail. I looked at him seriously. Kevin, I know she's your sister. But what she did, what she's been doing for months, that already destroyed our family. A mother who tortures her own child doesn't deserve that title. And yes, if the justice system decides she should go to jail, so be it. He nodded slowly. You're right. It's just hard to accept your own sister is capable of something like that. But Ethan comes first. He's just a kid. Exactly, I agreed. And I failed him once. I won't fail him again. What can I do to help? You're already helping, Kevin, by giving us shelter. By protecting my son when I couldn't. I just need you and Chloe to stay with Ethan while I go to the precinct. I don't want him to go through this right now. Of course, no problem. He can stay here as long as necessary. We went back inside. Ethan was more cheerful now, talking quietly with Chloe. It was the first time in a long time I'd seen him like this. Almost relaxed. Almost like the boy he should be. Buddy, I called, kneeling beside him. Dad needs to go out for a few hours. Important things. You'll stay here with Uncle Kevin and Aunt Chloe, okay? The panic returned. You'll come back, right, Dad? Promise. Of course I'm coming back, son. I promise. I'm just going to sort some things out to make sure you're safe. Mom is going to come and get me, isn't she? No. Iraplia firmly. She's not coming here. Are you sure? Understood. He nodded, still insecure. Chloe, sensing his fear, suggested. Ethan, how about we watch that superhero movie you love? The suggestion seemed to cheer him a little. I gave him one last hug before leaving, promising again I'd be back soon. On the way to the precinct, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Nia. I ignored the first few, but on the fifth I answered. I needed to buy time. Hello, I said, my voice dry. Darius, she exclaimed, sounding relieved. Thank God. I've been trying to call you for hours. Kevin took Ethan last night, and still hasn't brought him back. He won't answer my calls. I'm worried. The hypocrisy of those words infuriated me. Her, worried about the son she systematically abused. He's fine, I said, forcing calm into my voice. He's still with Kevin. Why didn't you tell me you were coming back early? And why haven't you come home? Where are you? I'm taking care of some business, I evaded. I'll be home later. Darius, what is going on? You're acting strange. We'll talk when I get there, I replied and hung up. At the sheriff's office, a detective listened, grim-faced. When I showed the videos, she shook her head, visibly disturbed. Mr. Thurman, this is a serious case of domestic violence against a minor. We will take all necessary measures. She explained they'd file a report, get an emergency protective order. And custody? You can immediately file for temporary custody. With this evidence, it's very likely the judge will grant it. I spent hours giving a statement, filling forms, uploading videos. The Department of Children and Family Services was called. Everything felt in slow motion and fast-forward at the same time. When I finally left, it was late afternoon. I had a police report, a petition for a protective order. The detective said an officer would notify Nia that day. It would prohibit her from approaching Ethan or contacting him. As I drove back to Kevin's, an unknown number called. It was the court officer. He had just served Nia. She didn't react well, he commented. She became agitated, saying it was all lies, that you were making things up to take her son away. That was to be expected, I replied, exhausted. Do you have a safe place for the minor? She won't be able to stay in the same residence. Yes, we're at my brother-in-law's. I plan to rent a place soon. Excellent. Any problems, contact the precinct. Back at Kevin's, Ethan was watching TV with Chloe, peaceful. When he saw me, he ran. You came back? He exclaimed, relief flooding his face. I promised you, didn't I? I smiled, picking him up. Dad always keeps his promises. Kevin called me into the kitchen. Nia came here, he said quietly. My blood ran cold. What? When? About an hour ago. She was furious, saying you'd made up lies, that you wanted to keep her away from her son. She knew about the protective order. She tried to come in to see Ethan. She tried. I didn't let her. I told her she was upset, and it would be better to come back when she was calmer. She threatened to call the police, but I reminded her the protective order was against her. She eventually left, but she'll be back. We're going to have to leave here, I concluded, running a hand through my hair. I don't want to involve you guys more. Where will you go? I'll rent a hotel for now. Don't be foolish, Darius. Kevin put a hand on my shoulder. You can stay here. My house is big. Ethan's comfortable here. I don't want to cause trouble. Nia is your sister. She is my sister, yes. But what she did is unforgivable. Ethan is just a child. You're staying here until you get settled. End of story. I felt a wave of gratitude for this man, who, despite everything, chose justice and the protection of an innocent child. That night, tucking Ethan into the guest bed, he asked me to stay until he fell asleep. I lay beside him. Dad, he whispered. Mom won't hurt me anymore, right? No, son. Never again. I promise. Dad is going to protect you always. She got really mad because you found out. I think so. But that doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that you're safe now. A moment of silence. Then he whispered, You know, Dad, I prayed every night for you to find out. I was so scared to tell you. Tears returned to my eyes. I'm so sorry I didn't find out sooner, son. I'm so sorry. It wasn't your fault, Dad, he said with a wisdom beyond his years. Mom said it was our secret. That everyone would think I was lying. That even you would think I was making things up. I would never think that, Ethan. Never. You can always tell me everything. I will always believe you. He smiled faintly, the first genuine smile I'd seen in a long time. Soon after, he fell asleep, holding my hand. I stayed there, watching him sleep in peace, perhaps for the first time in weeks. I swore I would do everything to rebuild our lives, to give him back the childhood he deserved. The next day, my lawyer called. Mr. Thurman, the judge has granted your petition for temporary custody. You have exclusive custody of Ethan. Your wife will be entitled to supervised visitation, if you agree, but only in a neutral location and with a court-appointed professional. A massive weight lifted. It was just the beginning of a long battle, but it was a start. When I hung up, Ethan was watching me from the kitchen doorway, hope and fear mixed in his eyes. Dad, are we going to be okay? I opened my arms. He ran to me. I hugged him with all my love. Yes, son. I promise you, we are going to be okay. The weeks that followed were about adjustment and healing. We rented a small apartment close to Kevin and Chloe's, our safe haven. I made the hard decision about my job. Long-haul trucking was impossible now. I arranged a deal with my boss, regional deliveries, home every night. Ethan started therapy 3 times a week with Dr. Ramirez, a specialist in childhood trauma. At first, he was reluctant, but slowly he opened up. One afternoon, Dr. Ramirez asked to speak with me alone. Mr. Thurman, Ethan is making progress, but the trauma is deep, she explained. He lived for about a year under constant terror. Will he overcome this? I asked, anxious. Children are surprisingly resilient when they have adequate support. The fact that you acted quickly was crucial. Many children are victimized for years because adults don't believe them or choose not to see. Guilt still gnawed at me. I should have noticed sooner. Abusers are very skilled at hiding their actions. And from what Ethan told me, his mother constantly threatened him. She chose moments when you weren't around. This is typical. I thought of all those trips. I'm changing my job permanently. No more long haul. That's an important decision. Your constant presence is fundamental to Ethan's recovery. He needs to feel safe, to know you're there. I'll always be there. And the supervised visits? Nia has that right. I don't know how Ethan will react. Dr. Ramirez sighed. Legally, she does, unless it's proven detrimental to his mental health. Based on what I've seen, I can recommend that visits be suspended until he's more stable. That would help so much, I said, relieved. He still wakes up screaming some nights, afraid she'll come. Nightmares are common. They will decrease with time and therapy. She paused. Mr. Thurman, one more thing. Ethan mentioned his mother used religion to justify the punishments. She said it was biblical discipline, for his own good. My stomach churned. She was never particularly religious with me. I never imagined she'd use that. Unfortunately, it's common. Some twist religious concepts to justify violence. This explains part of Ethan's moral confusion. He was led to believe he deserved the suffering. I left that session with a heavy heart, but with clarity. On the way home, we stopped at the ice cream parlor. Our ritual. How was the conversation with Dr. Ramirez today, son? I asked. It was good, he replied more openly. She taught me how to breathe when I feel scared. Does it work? He shrugged. Sometimes. When it's not a really big scare. And when it is? I think about you, Dad, he said simply. I think that now you're going to protect me. My eyes welled up. I put my arm around him, pulling him close. Always, son. Always. That night, Kevin came over. He seemed tense. Nia is trying to build a case against you, he said. She went to our mom's house today. She says she's going to prove you're an absent father, that you always left Ethan's upbringing in her hands while you traveled, and that you're using false accusations. False accusations? I repeated, incredulous. I have videos, Kevin, of her torturing our son. I know. I'm just telling you what she's planning. She says she'll find witnesses, neighbors, family, teachers, who will say she was a good, dedicated mother. And what those people say matters more than the concrete evidence. I argued, frustrated. Darius, you know how complicated the justice system can be, especially with custody disputes. She's leveraging your time away. I ran a tired hand over my face. That's why I changed my work routine. Local deliveries only now. That's good. It will help show the judge you are committed. But I shouldn't have to prove that. I'm not the one hitting my son, taping his mouth shut. Kevin sighed deeply. I know. It's outrageous. But she is the mother. Unfortunately, the system often favors mothers, even with evidence of abuse. You have to prepare for a difficult battle. I'm prepared to face whatever is necessary for my son. 2 weeks later, the news came. Nia's petition to revoke the protective order was denied. Dr. Ramirez's report, the videos, and Ethan's testimony, given in a protected environment, were decisive. The judge not only maintained the protective order, but temporarily suspended Nia's right to supervised visits, requiring psychological evaluation and mandatory treatment before any contact could be reestablished. It was a victory, but I knew the battle wasn't over. Nia wouldn't give up. That night, as Ethan slept peacefully for the first time in many weeks, I sat on the balcony of our small apartment. I reflected on everything: the discovery, the rescue, the nightmares, the therapy, the court battles. It had been the most difficult period of our lives, but also the start of our healing. I looked up at the stars. Our future seemed clearer now, more hopeful. Ethan was starting to smile again, to play, to trust. I had found a new balance. The road was still long, but for the first time, I truly believed we would be okay. My phone vibrated. A message from Kevin. A photo from a barbecue. Ethan, marshmallow on a stick, smiling. Genuine joy. Kevin's message. That smile is worth every battle, isn't it? I replied, my heart full. Every single one. Today, almost 2 years after that fateful night when I installed the camera, our lives have taken a completely different path. We live in a small, comfortable house with a yard where Ethan plays. We even planted a little vegetable patch together. I'm a logistics manager for a local transport company. No more long trips. I'm home every single night. Ethan is 10 now. The nightmares are rare. He still goes to therapy once a week. Dr. Ramirez says his progress is remarkable. Some emotional scars might remain, but he's learning to deal with them, to understand it wasn't his fault, and to ask for help when he needs it. At school, he's engaged, made new friends, joined the soccer team. Seeing the joy when he scores a goal, hearing his carefree laugh, these moments show me our fight was worth it. As for Nia, the justice system took its course. After many hearings and evaluations, she was found guilty of child abuse and mistreatment. She was sentenced to community service, mandatory psychiatric treatment, and the definitive loss of Ethan's custody. She still tries to regain visitation rights, claiming remorse. But the judge, wisely, maintains that any contact must be pre-approved by Ethan and his therapeutic team. To this day, my son has shown no interest in seeing his mother. When the subject comes up, he becomes quiet, thoughtful, and usually changes the topic. Dr. Ramirez says this is normal and healthy. He is protecting himself, setting boundaries, something denied to him for so long. Maybe one day, when he's older, he'll decide. But that will be his decision. What struck me most throughout this journey was realizing how domestic violence against children can happen silently, right under our noses. Nia maintained a perfect image to everyone, neighbors, family, teachers. No one suspected what she did when the doors closed. No one, except her terrified son, who had no voice, no power. I learned to always be alert. Ethan's behavioral changes weren't just a phase. They were silent cries for help. I was slow to hear them, and that guilt still sits with me. Now, I'm much more observant, not just with Ethan, but with other children around me. I've identified suspicious situations, and I haven't hesitated to contact authorities. It's better to investigate and find out everything's fine than to ignore it and allow another child to suffer. At home, we built a relationship based on absolute trust. Ethan knows he can tell me anything, without fear of judgment. Discipline is taught through conversations, logical consequences, and example. Never, ever through physical or psychological violence. One of my greatest joys is seeing how empathetic and protective Ethan has become. At school, he often defends classmates who are bullied. "Everyone deserves to feel safe, Dad," he told me once, with a wisdom far beyond his years. Recently, I was invited to speak at a support group for single parents who have gone through domestic violence. I shared our story, highlighting the importance of believing children, of acting quickly. After my talk, a woman approached me, crying. She had just discovered her ex-husband was abusing their son during weekend visits. "I installed cameras after noticing strange behavior, just like you did," she said, squeezing my hand. "Your testimony gave me the courage to move forward. Knowing it's possible to rebuild, that children can recover, that gave me hope. And that is what I carry with me every day. Hope. Hope that Ethan continues his path of healing, that he grows up strong and confident. Hope that our story can help other families identify and interrupt cycles of violence. Hope that as a society, we can better protect our children. That camera I installed in my son's room? It didn't just document the horror. It saved his life. It allowed me to see the dark truth hidden in my own home, and gave me the tools to protect him. It was a desperate gesture that turned into salvation. Today, when I see Ethan playing carelessly in the yard, running after the ball with our dog, a goofy mixed breed we adopted last year, I see a child who is finally living the childhood he deserves. The eyes that once carried so much fear now shine with joy and curiosity. The deep, dark circles have given way to rosy cheeks. The scared silence has transformed into laughter, into animated conversations about school, friends, his dreams. Sometimes, when we're watching TV or reading a bedtime story, he snuggles into my arms in a way that reminds me how far we've come. In those moments, I silently give thanks for having followed my instincts that night, for not ignoring the signs, for having the courage to face the truth, no matter how painful. The journey wasn't easy. There were days of despair, doubt, guilt. Nights when I wondered if we'd ever truly heal. But every small step forward, a genuine smile, a night without nightmares, a spontaneous hug, showed me we were on the right path. To the parents watching me, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong with your child, it probably is. Children change their behavior for many reasons, but drastic changes, especially those involving fear, withdrawal, physical signs like dark circles or bruises, should never be ignored. Talk to your children. Be present. Observe. Listen not only to what they say, but also to what they don't say, what they express through behavior, drawings, games. And remember, violence against children has no justification. It is not discipline. It is not education. It is not for their own good. It is pure and simple abuse. And as a society, we have a duty to protect the most vulnerable, to give a voice to those who often cannot speak for themselves. Our story had a happy ending. Ethan is safe. He is healing. And he is growing up surrounded by love and respect. Not all stories end this way. Some children suffer for years, for decades, a lifetime, because no one intervenes. No one notices. No one believes. Don't let that happen. Be vigilant. Be the voice. Be the protection that every child deserves. So what about you? Have you ever had to face a truth so painful, to make a decision so hard, all to protect someone you love? What would you have done if you saw that footage? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. And if my story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. It truly helps me share these raw, honest conversations. A big hug the size of my heart. Thanks for watching. Take care.